Well, you've taken us all around the world with the book so far, and there's more to come, I think.
Yes.
What's your earliest memory of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang?
It would be, I think very specifically, it would be the child catcher in the film, which I remember distinctly being scared to death of. It's a fantastic performance and so creepy. Robert Helpman, isn't it?
That's right.
I just have such a clear vision of that as a child, being one of those things that were one of the first times I remember not being able to sleep. And
really?
Being really sort of affected by something.
Yeah.
Was the child catcher, which I've since discovered, of course, wasn't in the book. That was a Roald Dahl invention rather than an Ian Fleming invention, which is I don't know if that's slightly disappointing or not, but that was certainly my first memory. Yeah,
I think the villains we've got in this book, I think of them as two villains really. Are not as frightening but as interesting in different ways.
They're very peculiar. They're quite creepy because you don't quite know what they are, and even by the end of the book, you still don't know. Is this nanny? Is she actually a nanny, or is she some sort of international criminal mastermind? And Tiny Jack remains an enigma beyond the end of the book.
He's a weird thing, and I think we will find out more about him. And you gave him such an interesting voice. It's going to really...
Well, it's difficult because, of course, the author's given us very little to go on because he's obviously saving up some of the questions for future volumes. But it's hard because you have to obviously come up with a very specific voice. But you're having to sort of not make too many decisions because you don't quite know. I don't want to give away anything for anyone who's not read the book yet, but there are all sorts of things, even about the dimensions of this character, that we can be very unsure of.
We don't quite know what he looks like yet, but we've got suspicions. There are hints throughout the book. If you had a car like Chitty and could choose some accessories, any idea what they might be?
I think a flying car is quite hard to better, really. I think if I could have one of them, I probably would. There's a great deal of wish fulfillment in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which is part of what I'm sure makes it live down the ages. You know, we'd all love to have a car that can take off and miss the traffic and take you to any country in the world, and I think I certainly want that. There's something, and again, I don't want to give too much. I'm assuming many people might be listening to this before they've read the book. There's something, a new addition to Chitty's armoury that we discover really in the closing pages of this book, which is also something that I think is pretty invaluable. I'd like to have one of them. To be honest, I'd be quite happy with all of Chitty's variety of things.
Come in handy.
They would all come in pretty handy.
And if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you like Chitty to take you?
I've never been to Australia, and so many people love it so much, and it sounds fascinating. And I think probably that's the place in the world I've yet to discover. I'd probably go there.
That'd take a bit of time in Chitty, but she'd get there.
She'd get there. She'd probably get there quicker than just about any other form of transport.
She probably would.
Yeah.
Now, are you a camper van fan? Have you got a camper van? Have you ever been in a camper van?
I never have, I don't think. I don't think... we had a caravan when I was little that you towed along behind a car.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes. Not quite the same as a camper van, but I suppose it's similar. We had what was it? A Hillman Hunter, I think it was called. And we used to go on family holidays to North Berwick. And I was quite young, so I don't have a lot of memories. My memories are of living very close to each other and sort of limited foodstuffs being prepared on a very limited sort of
One
single
of those little
ring.
Calagas thing, yeah.
Toast toppers, I seem to remember we had quite a lot, which means there must have been a grill. There must have been a grill in that little caravan.
It's quite nice having a little house that you can move about.
There's something very, I think as a child, there's something very pleasing about that as well. It feels mini and it feels containable and it feels entirely free, that you can have home comforts wherever you need them.
Your reading brought out the characters absolutely beautifully. Do you have a favourite character? The whole family is in the book.
They're all rather juicy and they're all very individual and very clearly written, which is great. I think probably the dad is my favourite character, just because he has a spirit about him which is eternally youthful, and he has a sort of an indomitability and an optimism which is very hard to see past. I mean, he's charming and he's energetic and he's I'm sure he would also be quite exhausting to live with, but there's just something, there's so much joy in his soul, I think.
And he's quite good when he's made redundant at the beginning of the book.
All optimism.
By just getting on with it.
Absolutely. He's a very good spin doctor of his own existence, and that, he's sacked almost in the opening page of the book but he describes it as a wonderful, marvellous, liberating thing. And indeed, it would seem to be.
What was your first car? Can you remember? Are you a car person?
I'm not. I have no great passion for cars. I like to have one. I enjoy driving enormously, but I don't get sort of fetishistic about cars like some people do. My very first car was a Ford Fiesta, blue Ford Fiesta, which served me very well for a number of years.
When you were little, did you dream of having a superpower? And if so...
All the time, yes.
Oh, really? What was it?
Always all of them.
Oh.
I was a great consumer of superhero comics.
Oh, really?
As a child. So I would wish to be empowered with whoever I was reading about that day. I think also because I was I wasn't the most sporty child or the most sort of physically confident, so I suppose I can invest hugely in a sort of superhero fantasy life there. You know, I certainly want to be able to fly. I used to envy the Incredible Hulk's enormous power. And invisibility is something which I still,
Oh, wouldn't that be brilliant?
Little fantasies about these days, yeah.
Did you read a lot when you were little?
I did, yeah. I did read quite a lot, yeah. And it was often sort of the sort of fantastical. I mean, something like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang appealed because of the slightly fantastical, supernatural element that which was always the thing that would hook me into anything, really.
If you had to choose just 3 adjectives or 3 words to describe Chitty Chitty Bang Bang Flies Again, can you think what they might be?
It's clever. Clever because of the way it absolutely is very loyal and respectful of its source material, whilst at the same time being fresh minted. Very clever. Slightly surreal. I think, again, in the tradition of the original book, there's a kind of macabre element to some of the things that go on in there. There's some quite dark areas that it goes to, and some very, very unexpected twists and turns. And readable, it's hugely readable. When I sat down because I was asked to read the audiobook, I sat down to read the book and flew through it. It's just so kind of easy and fascinating and all the things that a good book should be.
I think we were very lucky to get Frank Cottrell Boyce to write the book, and very, very lucky to get you to read it. And he's woven in some interesting James Bond connections, yes, which I think is going to be fun for people to find.
Yeah, absolutely. We shouldn't give them away, but they're very pleasing when they show up, yes.
But funny enough, although I'd read the book obviously lots of times, when you read it, I found even more that I hadn't noticed before. So I think there's some quite hidden away ones.
Yes. Oh, you might have to fill me in on those when the microphone's turned off.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you very, very much indeed.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you.